There's a certain irony to every Victoria 3 run. No matter what sort of build you go for, there are many economic realities of the game which make whatever you try to do into a great propaganda piece for pretty much any ideology you want if you're willing to bend things a little. It's pretty common to discuss the horrors of colonialism and to condemn those nations which eluded the other parts of the world for their benefit. At the same time, some nations used their ill-gotten wealth for different purposes. Sometimes the wealth of the world was invested into larger and larger armies and navies to further exploit the world, or it was invested into idols dedicated to the greatness of the rulers that made it happen. Sometimes it was invested into the establishment of long-term colonial states, many of which are alive to this day. What if, though, the government used its empire to conduct the most insane wealth transfer maybe ever? Welfare is a Victoria 3 mechanic that is more or less dead on arrival in concept. Money in Victoria 3 is very valuable, and it can create an army, a navy, an economy, whatever you like. Among the least useful ways to spend money in Victoria 3 is to just give it to people as spending money. Pops spend money on goods, and that generates demand, which is useful, but the demand generated by a person is much less than the demand generated by a booming industrial economy. Nonetheless, today's video intends to understand what Victoria 3 is like if you try to create a welfare state using money looted from the weaker parts of the world. How might such a nation function, and will it be sustainable? Well, if we're being real, it won't be some kind of revolutionary new way to play Victoria 3, but it'll certainly be interesting to play here as Sweden and establish a great empire for the people. We'll be creating what could be called a folkhem, or people's home in Swedish. I hope you enjoy. When it comes to understanding old age pension, it's actually really bad. It's a really bad law because it takes away workforce ratios, so you get effectively fewer actual population of workers, and it makes you pay more in wages to buildings, so it takes away from all of your profits, and you have to pay welfare. And we'll talk about kind of like what what welfare exactly does. It says here that it is the fraction of the normal wage at which pops receive welfare payments, and that is accurate. However, it's hard to understand, for example, what is a normal wage and what is a welfare payment and so on. But we'll look more into that once we actually pass this law. Alongside that, I'm not sure if we're going to keep the monarchy or not, but I want to have like kind of a universal suffrage, like very liberal sort of country. And I do want to make a little colonial empire. And the reason why is actually mostly a gameplay consideration. If you play as Sweden, and let's say your ambition is to become Scandinavia, so you take over Norway, Denmark, and Finland, right? Let's say you do that. Well, you have like 8 coal in Scania, and then I think you have some in Finland, maybe even none actually. There's actually none in Finland, so you don't get like any coal. So as Sweden, you're very much so incentivized to get the hell out and go and make it a colonial empire somewhere over here. So we're gonna go and do that. For now though, how do we start off? Well, it's Sweden. We gotta get some resources going. We have a lot of lumber, we have a lot of iron. Funnily enough, Sweden, despite being like the home of Paradox, does not really have very many cool, like, unique companies to work with. So our first company is probably just gonna be the United Svealand Forestry Producers, because just like a lumber company is kind of super good. Sweden is one of 2 places in the game that gets an iron prestige good company. So we're definitely gonna grab LKAB, but we need to get Open Hearth Process for that, which is a tier 3 tech. So we'll take a little bit of time for that. We're going to start off with just the United Svealand Forestry Producers. Naturally, we're going to give this a unique name. So let me go over to my wheel. I decided finally, rather than just picking the names of companies based on me just arbitrarily choosing from the list, I now actually have like a random wheel set up. So all the members have a reasonable chance to get a company. And then also, if the higher level of member you are, the more like spots you have in the wheel, so you have a better chance of getting like spun. Alright, the member we rolled today was Alexander the Greatest. So we'll make a name for that. Let me think about that for a second. So I went with Alexander's Amazing Arctic Lumber. Not gonna be creative, but at least it's got the alliteration with the 3 A's, right? That's what people are here for. Sounds good. And when it comes to tech, I think railways are a top priority, because in Sweden, we have pretty low infrastructure here. So we just kind of like desperately need railways right away. And in terms of our first buildings, probably just like a little bit of construction and then some lumber. And then we're going to want to get steel and motors up pretty soon. I guess we just immediately go for the steel and the motor and the tools. We're going to need tools for sure. Set these to do steel tools. There we go. And we're going to subsidize these temporarily, only because I want to make sure they actually produce their goods. Then we will make tools, probably a bunch. And with that, I guess we should do our diplomacy. I want to be friends with Britain. I want to be friends with Prussia. And I want to probably rival Russia. Don't care about them. And then it's going to sound interesting, but I might actually just immediately dunk on Lübeck, because Lübeck can be... So Lübeck is part of the Schleswig-Holstein state. So when you try to form Scandinavia, you can end up with a problem where if Prussia creates North German Federation, they'll take over Lübeck, and then you can't get the full state. So I'm actually just going to go for this, like, immediately. There's one more thing to look at, and that's that we have control over this strait over here, the Strait of the Øresund, or however you pronounce it. I'm going to set the tolls to medium, because I think this usually gets you the most money. This gets you more money, but then people stop trading through it, so you end up with less money. I think medium tolls tend to work the best. I'm not sure, but it's fine either way. We still have some authority left over. I'm going to use it to probably suppress the absolutist movement. These guys can be a real pain, so let's just get rid of them. Also improve relationship with Norway, improve relations with Denmark as well. This is because we're probably going to make them a protectorate, so I would like them to like me in the future. Let's now do our invasion. There we go. This shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, there we go. Nice and easy. Now we have this cool little border against Denmark. How much would it cost to just conquer? Yeah, it's a little too much, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to make protectorate on Denmark. Although it's a little risky because Britain might support them, so we got to be careful here. Maybe we don't rush that down. There's no real reason to rush it anyway. Right, we need coal for the steel mills. I forgot about that, so let's set that up real quick. There's the tool workshops with the steel mills. Feels good, man. Since we have a very conservative government right now, I'm actually going to pass legal guardianship, because early on the birth rate is kind of just really good. So now Britain looks like they're not going to join the war because they're busy fighting China, which is perfect. So I'm going to make a protectorate against Denmark, and I think there will be like no shot they can beat me. What I'm going to do is I would like for them to back down, so I'm going to add some secondary war goals like humiliates. Now I don't care about humiliating all these guys, I'm just trying to make it so that they're more likely to back down is all. There's my railways. We can add a railway now to Stockholm. We'll put 2 down for now, and then while those are building, we'll also queue up more tools. Some iron, we'll need that. And we can also set the iron to use our coal, although we need more coal now apparently. Nice. Queue that up. We will very quickly run out of coal, by the way. We will very quickly run out, and then we'll need to go overseas, and we will do that. We'll start making more of a navy pretty soon, I think. But for now, here comes the Denmark War. Pretty sure we just win. Yeah, we're attacking from 2 sides here. Bigger army, no one came to their help. So this is an easy one. There's the guardianship. Now I'm going to pass censorship. Again, everyone just kind of likes this law, except for the intelligentsia, but who cares? This upset the radicals, but that's okay. And then this will also please our armed forces who are petitioning to pass it anyway. The war ended, by the way, while I was yapping for a second there, and now we have control over Denmark. And yeah, we have to improve relations so they don't become disloyal, but we also need a bigger army. Bigger army would help a lot. We'll work on that. I don't usually go into such detail on the opening moves with Victoria 3 videos, but I think there's value for some people in seeing a more proper set of steps to follow, as opposed to the vagueness of building an economy or whatever. I'm not going to be this detailed the whole video, of course, but hey, if you want to play Sweden, consider this a solid opener, I guess. Our tolls are making a lot of money over here, which is really cool. One thing that's funny, I noticed this randomly looking at UI stuff. Tolls are just not in the national revenue overview. So if you look here, it says we're making 53k, but if you add up these numbers, that's not even close to 53k. These tolls account for like half of our entire government budget, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know that much trade passed through here. Like if you look, I mean, I guess it's just like, it's me exporting wood, I guess, and then I'm tolling my own trades. Is that, if I look at the trade center, like, is it calculated as part of the costs here? Yes, it is. Okay, so interesting. Generates a lot of money, man. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to export a bunch of stuff through our own tolls and then charge tolls on it. Wealth voting is, in my opinion, one of the like really good laws to be on, I think, because it's you get good interest groups in power on wealth voting, generally speaking. With other voting laws, you either have like conservative interest groups like these here, or you just empower the rural folk. If you have too many peasants and you go universal suffrage, you just have a bunch of farmers voting all day, and it's like, well, don't really care about the farmers, but you know, this is pretty good though. Wealth voting, you get like capitalists and academics and all that. Now when it comes to making an investment pool, by the way, right now we don't really have much of one, which is fine. But what are we going to use to make a lot of money? I'm not sure yet. I'm not really sure what our big like cash industry is going to be. Probably it'll be iron mines and we export the iron overseas, I guess. That would be reasonable. Because iron is often in pretty high demand around the world. If we do that, we'll see construction go up really high in most of the world, I think, because they're going to see that they can make more construction, because they'll have access to more stuff. But we'll see what happens. just gonna max out our logging camps in Svealand right away, because these will make a lot of money. So I think logging for now will be our source of income, but we'll need tools to support it, so we'll build some of those too. With this much iron, we shouldn't see construction costs get too high, and in fact, as long as we have our investment pool at least building like one thing, we end up having a positive balance, so that's pretty nice. We do also have elections now. We have the right result. We can choose who wins. I do like a industrialist trade union intelligentsia, party, so let's do that. That should mean that they'll win pretty handily. Alright, just got the water tube boiler, so now we can turn on the higher level engine pump, which is always nice. We do have a little shortage of tools, in fact, so I think we'll probably fast track those tooling workshops. We can pick new tech. Now at this point for tech, I do want to get down to open hearth process for the LKAB Company, but I think it's a bigger priority right now to maybe grab like... I was thinking pharmaceuticals for the healthcare, but... Oh, you know what I want to do is I want to get down to ironclads so that I can make reasonable troop ships. Because right now, making an overseas empire is going to really suck because we can't really transport many troops. So I think we'll do that. Let's focus on these tier 2 techs. And this will take a while, but it's really important to get these ironclads going. Let's do that. Almost a great power, by the way. It's only 1842. It's not very difficult as Sweden to become a great power, to be honest. We can even do it by just pumping up our government wages for a second. There you go. That gets us great power stats. Then we'll just go back down because we shouldn't decay into a major power again. So now we're a great power, and that's nice. I could make a power block immediately, and I think I probably just will. Like it feels a little bit early, maybe, but we have quite a few subjects, so we should be able to actually like get mandates. Question is what to call it. Now there is the if you do a sovereign empire, you can make the Stormacht is one of the. Oh, I just clicked past it. Cringe. The Stormacht, which is like the Stormacht refers to in Swedish it means great power, and it refers to the Stormaktstid, which was a time when Sweden was like an empire, and back when they built the Vasa and all that, a famous ship that sunk. But they had like a little empire along the Baltic, right? That was like their thing. So it refers to that. But I'm not really going for the whole like Imperial Sweden vibe. So I think what we'll use instead, I want to use Sovereign Empire because I like the modifier it gives. So we will use that. Or we could use Religious Convocation. And this is an interesting one because I want to call this the Folkhemmet, which is essentially like, it means like the people's home, I guess you could say in Swedish. And it refers to like the welfare state of Sweden in the sort of interwar period between World War I and World War II. I think that's a cool name, and Religious Convocation kind of makes sense for it because it was like kind of a sort of Christian, you could say, like a concept. I don't know. Look, I'm not going to talk about this as if I know anything about it. Okay, I know like a little bit about the Folkhemmet, but point is, Religious Convocation is nice because you get the birth rate out of it. This is kind of insanely good, so I'm thinking we do actually do this, and then everyone around us is Protestant. Like all of our subjects are Protestant, so it's chill. With Divine Economics, you can also get more wages for your state religion pops, and that could play an interesting role later on if we do decide to really like GDP, or rather SOL max. But it also lets you put clergy in charge of your ownership buildings. And this, to me, is pretty nice. Like it can be, but we'll see what we do with this. I mean, I think it's a cool name, and it'll work out pretty nicely. For now, let's pick a statue though. This is always very important, is to get a cool statue. So I'm gonna random a couple times and then see if we get anything interesting. Okay, I know I said ran a couple times, but I kind of like the guy with the gun in his hands and the halo and wings. That's kind of sick, actually. I won't lie. Because we're going to make an empire with this, right? We're going to make a little overseas empire type of thing. Let's do that. Okay, great. That looks nice. Let's found this. It's going to make all the great powers reset, but that's alright. There's our Folkhemmet. Those good men. And let's start re-improving relations with people, because now everyone's mad at us, but we can fix that up pretty quickly, I think. I think from here, what I want now is to make some paper and make some universities. We will need more railways for that, so let's pile those up, and then just spam some paper and unis. I want to do a lot of tech. I like tech. I like unlocking more of the game's options, so tech is nice. The Netherlands want to come, get some help. Let's see. One thing you can do if you're smart is you can try to like make vassals pretty easily. Like if I was going to become a subject, minus 102 from desire to be a subject, and then we have ideological differences. But we can amend that pretty easily. I think I saw this in a Connor video where you can take on the debt of a revolting tag to get them to like you enough that they're willing to become your vassal. So we might be able to steal the Netherlands here. Let's see. Hopefully they accept my treaty here. They do. Okay, good. Now it means they like me a bit more now. Next, I'm going to take on their debt again, because they're a revolter tax, they're always in debt. We're going to guarantee their independence, give them a toll exemption, and then, like, I'll give you an obligation, and I don't really care, like, you can have whatever you want, power block, embassy, and then I'll even, like, you know, I'll send over, actually, I'll just pay money. I'll pay you, like, you know, 4,000 pounds. I'm just trying to get them to accept this deal. I don't really care what it actually is. They answered, okay, good, they accepted. Now will you become my subject? Minus 54, okay. If I can make our governments more ideologically aligned, it's possible. So you are, okay, church, army, and the trade unions. Now, unfortunately, because I have parties, it's kind of difficult, but if we just do this, I wonder, people are insurrection. Okay, we can't. Well, could I just maybe, could I get rid of these guys and just throw in this for church and army? That might be better. Now, let's see. Minus 21. Ugh. Relations are quite high enough, eh? If I could do one more debt take on, defensive pact, money transfer, and you want a ship? Okay, I'm going to go for that. They declined it. No! Good. Now will you want to accept? Yes, there it is. Okay, cool. So now we can make them a protectorate, and then I just gotta send my army over there. The problem, of course, being that oh no, we can just walk over. Huge. I was gonna say it can be difficult to transport an army with the navy, but we can just walk there. So this means we get free Netherlands, which is kind of crazy. Now it's a bit expensive, obviously, but it's completely worth it. Like, well, you know, it's only 5 years of this stuff, and then we're good, right? In fact, we can even just renegotiate the deals. Let's real quick throw our previous government back in, although we can't because they're radical, right? Okay, well, that's fine. By the way, I'm pretty sure we win against the Netherlands here, and this means that we will have control over the whole East Indies as well, which is very nice. There's a lot of good stuff over there. But yeah, that's good tech for people that are new to the game. Well, actually, it's not good for people that are new to the game. It's good for people that are like more kind of intermediate to advanced, maybe, is that you can grab like control of people through their revolts if you can convince the revolter to, you know, like work with you. But it's tough to do that a lot of times. However, you can take on their debt over and over again to make them like you enough to make it happen. So yeah, would recommend. Works pretty well. Now, keeping these guys loyal is another issue. These guys are very unlikely, I think, to stay loyal to me. But we'll see what we can do, right? Even if they're disloyal, though, they're in the market. That's what really matters. That's cultural exclusion, by the way. That's huge. There we go. So now the Netherlands is a subject. Now, whether or not that lasts is another issue, but it's pretty good, though. And the Netherlands are Protestant as well, I think, so it fits our power block quite nicely. Although it does mean that now we have a bunch of non-Christians over here, which is not so good. We're going to want to improve relations with these guys. I forgot that it adds all the vassals to the block as well. So all these little dudes are going to be like dragging our power down, but it's okay. What I would like to do is make the Denmark into a puppet so I can form Scandinavia. So I think I will do that. It's only 10 infamy, and probably no one will help. So let's just do it. We're losing our first battle, but I mean, that's fine, right? We have 2 more mass migrations. Wow, we're getting a lot of those. Let's take a look at the mass migration map mode. We have 3 mass migrations happening right now, and I don't know, we're just going to be lucky, I guess. America can be hard to beat when it comes to mass migrations, but I guess we're just that skilled at the game. We're just that insanely giga-chad. So once Denmark has been reduced in autonomy, we should be able to just instantly form Scandinavia, not have to worry about their liberty desire anymore. That will also give us more military, so it'll make Netherlands more loyal. And it does mean we won't be able to do the unification play to grab Finland more easily, but that's kind of fine with me, to be honest. There we go, we just did it. And as you can see now, we can form Scandinavia. Beautiful, so let's do that. Wonderful. So now we're big boy Scandinavia. Beautiful, love to see it. No more Denmark to worry about, no more Norway to worry about. We do still have a pretty disloyal Netherlands, though. It's going to be difficult to fix that. We have to just make a bigger army, I guess. In terms of our current minorities in Stockholm, we have a large Czech group here and some South Germans. We have Norwegians and Occitans in Gotland. We have Occitans in Scania, and then in Norrland we have South Germans. Okay, so Germans, Czechs, and South French people. That's the current set of people, it looks like. It might just getting to be a little bit worrying, but what I'll probably do is I'll finish up some of this paper mills, because that'll cheapen the cost of our, you know, government resources. And then I will probably just like pause construction for a bit and pay off our debt. The problem, of course, is that we don't have a huge investment pool, but I think we have enough of one that we could pause for a little while at least. I don't know, not really to be honest, but it's okay. Oh my god, Germany already formed. It's 1846. I guess Austria's wanting to join them. That's an interesting to shape Germany, but again, I'm friends with them, so it's cool with me. I'd even like to do you want to have like a defensive pact proper? I think if we get a bunch of conscripts, we can actually make that happen. Not really a ton there, but hopefully it's enough to get us maybe a defensive pact. Yeah, okay. Defensive pact, investment rights would be nice. Maybe we can just promise no subventions and stuff. Yeah, no subventions on iron, no tariffs on iron. And then I guess own obligation. That works for me. So we get investment rights, we get a defensive pact, we don't tariff or subvent iron, and in return, you know, this holds for 25 years. This should keep us nice and close together, I think. So investment rights in Germany is kind of good, because they have lots of resources we can exploit, and they have a lot of demand in their market too. Now in terms of where to colonize, I'm thinking probably we grab like West Africa, if we can. I mean, it's early on right now, so there's not like a ton of competition for it, but it's going to be tough to conquer like these dudes because we have a very small navy. However, I am working on getting the ironclad technology for a big navy that'll let us move a big army over there. Let's see what we do. We do have the paper now, so rather than keep building, I'm going to pause for a bit. Let the investment pool drain, although it's not really full, so unfortunately we're going to be wasting some construction time here. That sort of sucks, but it is what it is. We have to pay off our debt. Although, part of me says maybe we just kind of go, fuck it, and do more with debt. Like maybe we just raise taxes and then keep going. That's probably wiser. The aversion I have to pausing construction here is that a lot of my profits on my lumber, tools, and iron is from demand generated by the construction sectors. By pausing, I'll be killing my profits and stagnating my economy as my investment pool won't grow. That said, that is preferable to bankrupting, but at the same time, I often prefer to just keep building until I can get the right set of profits to generate the investment pool I'd need to be able to pause. What I likely should be doing at this point is privatizing, which would see my investment pool grow much faster and pay off my debt directly via the privatization itself. But I'll be real with you. The need to go through my list of buildings and click privatize on all of them is an excruciatingly bad UI experience, to the point that I often prefer to just pass laissez-faire, which will set all buildings to privatize click-free. That said, laziness is among my greatest nemesis as a Paradox gamer, so one day I will surely grow up and go click the privatize buttons on my buildings, even on interventionism. Alas, that day has not yet come. Overall, okay, it's been 12 years. Pretty good start for Sweden, I'd say. Let me know, like, I don't know, I'm kind of out on Victoria 3 meta these days. I don't know, like, what's really good and what's really bad or not. This was a good start. I feel like the budget's kind of a problem. We don't have a ton of investment pool is a bit of a problem. But, like, we have a good ally with Germany. We have investment rights in them, so we can make some good money on them. We have United Scandinavia. We have control over the Netherlands. We have a power block that's doing pretty poorly, to be honest, but it's getting there, you know, eventually. We've been ruling over these guys in the East Indies long enough that we can start forcing our religion on them. Let's do that. We're going to impose religion on Jambi and on... Okay, we can't do this till we get more cohesion, which unfortunately we're probably going to lose cohesion. Now we're gaining cohesion. Okay, so let's keep doing that. The more we enforce religion on our subjects down here, the more cohesion we'll get, because we'll have less of a negative from having wrong faith people in our power block. Oh, I know my budget's being so bad. For some reason, my tolls turned off. This must have been when we went to war with Denmark. Maybe it turned off the tolls for some reason. Put those back on immediately. And now suddenly the budget's looking a lot better. Okay. I was going to say, like, this feels like we lost a lot of our budget really quickly. Yeah, we lost our tolls, dude. It makes sense. That should fix things up. Now, of course, the trade will go down because of the new tolls coming in, but I think it'll still make a lot of money for us, hopefully. At this point, the economy is kind of stalling out a little bit, not for any particular reason. It's because... Well, I say that. The particular reason that we're only building universities right now, which don't tend to make a lot of economic output. But, like, that's fine. We don't need a big economic output right now. We just want to get our research going so we can get tech. We have South Andeans migrating to Scania. Nice. A lot of Hispanophones coming in. And Dutch people coming in, too, because we share a market. That's one nice thing about getting the Dutch is that because we share a market, we can actually steal their pops, too. Now, these people, we don't need more workers right now, to be clear. This is not a matter of, like, oh, yeah, this is so wonderful, getting more workers. We really need them. We have plenty of unemployed and peasants right now. What this is really about is, like, for the future of having more pops since we do need them. And also, more, we have a really high birth rate. So it's going to mean that each of these pops that we get is kind of, like, more and more valuable, I guess you could say. Fine Economics 2, by the way, means that now we have clergymen in charge of our ownership buildings. And that means they're going to get really rich and really powerful. They're already really powerful, but they're going to get even more powerful. Farmers at gunpoint? Okay, so I do love this event, and I think, yes, we could just do universal suffrage. I'm kind of okay with that. So yes, we will do that. Boom. Now, big voting laws are in. Lots of loyalists. Feels good, man. Feels good. Now, that might mean we empower the rural folk, like, a lot. And if we do, then, you know, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. But we'll see what happens. New election. Looks like the Hoira still win. Interesting. So I guess we still have a lot of more conservative people. So reverse suffrage still means we end up with a victory for the conservatives, which is fine. I'm okay with that because I don't really want to pass any laws right now. I just want to sort of sit here and just like build up. South German people migrating from Bohemian Radical Revolt. We love to see that. That's going to be a pretty big migration, I think. Also, there is a Britain-American war over the Mosquito Kingdom and Liberia. Okay, well, good luck with that, I guess. I suppose my next goal should be to get the tech required for LKAB. So we might just rush Open Hearth process. I think I'm cool with that. Even though we don't have all the tier 2 tech yet, we can just grab it early. That will let us get LKAB up in Norland, which I will prepare for by building real quick 5 iron mines. We'll need the iron anyway for the purpose of, you know, affording our construction. Interesting occurrence here. We see that Oyo is being protectorated by Portugal as well as Benin. Now, I don't want Portugal to do that. So rather than needing to face off against them later, I'm actually going to declare this war on Benin right now, okay? In the hopes that we can just conquer it from under them. What to keep in mind is that if we were to attack Benin after Portugal makes them protectorate, then Portugal will defend them. That's, you know, oh no, right? That kind of sucks. But if we attack them before Portugal's war like starts, then they can't defend them once the war begins. So it's kind of just screwed for them. We'll see if Oyo joins the war. If they do, that'd be like insanely good for me. But if not, I mean, it's fine. We haven't built up our troop ships, but that's fine. Oyo did back down. Okay, I see. So Oyo, okay, Oyo does join. Oh my goodness, wait a minute, that's crazy. That means I can do conquer state for Yoruba states. So this means that Portugal's protectorates over here mean literally nothing because we're just conquering them out from under him, which is beautiful. So Hungary is looking a little bit chaotic here. Hungary and Romania fighting for what they both claim to be their native land. Very unfortunate. Also, double Croatia. Look at this. We have Croatia. We also have Croatia. Both regencies, by the way. So in theory, this would be like 2 child kings, or maybe queens, fighting over their rightful territory. This is very CK3 pilled right here. Very CK3 pilled. Love to see that. Also a proper Venice, which is cool. We can add some Marines to them. I think I'm going to do that. Looks good. 6 Marines to kind of balance out this little force here. And then put somebody good. Who do we got that's good? Persistent is nice. Imposing is also nice, though. Yeah, let's grab this guy. Vladislav Rokossovski. Yeah, he's a Polish dude. We're having a Polish general for fighting for Sweden. Which I know historically, it's a little bit weird. It's a little weird because I think Poland and Sweden didn't really get along back in the day. Isn't it the case that, like, the immense destruction that the Swedish Empire inflicted upon Poland has ramifications to this day for their nation? Can someone correct me on that? Perhaps if I'm wrong, I believe that's true. I mean, I suppose any empire's conquest of another can lead to long-term consequences, but I mean that it's like something where Sweden did some messed up stuff during their wars against Poland in their imperial era. Although Europeans are always so proud of their imperial pasts. Out in Canada and North America, you know, like Canada, United States kind of thing, there's a lot of like, you gotta kind of pretend that you're not proud of that stuff. Although I say pretend, I am not proud of Canada's history in some moments. Okay, other moments very proud, some moments really not proud at all. But yeah, point is that Europeans really celebrate that stuff. It feels like it says that like they have the advantage here, but just sometimes I think that stats can be really powerful. I get the feeling they don't have much of a chance. Yeah, it's tough. Even with a lot of units, it's tough when you have low stats. Get wrecked. That's Sokoto's army, but that's like the big guy. If Sokoto weren't in this war, they'd actually have no chance whatsoever. But Sokoto joining was a bit of a, you know, occurrence. Doesn't really change much though for me. What's nice about this place, by the way, the reason why this is so valuable for Sweden, it's because they have 48 coal, so you actually get like a reasonable amount of resources from that. Also, path to liberalism complete. I do the juxtaposition of radically, like violently enforcing our will upon someone else in Africa who is you know, completely destroyed by us, right? And then freedom, equality, and brotherhood. You know, it's always funny. Could give Orla Lehmann some extra popularity. Could make Julius von Schönbrunn into a radical, or we could make Anton Kuhler into a reformer. Thing is, he's currently a market liberal, so I really want that. I think we just make Orla Lehmann more popular. I think that's okay. And then I want to pass laissez-faire if I could, please. Fortunately, the petite bourgeoisie are not very placeable into government right now. We'll wait for the next election and see how it goes. I'm also going to invade Borgu here, by the way. They have a split state, but we can just full annex them, which is nice. Anyway, I'm done constructing for now. We actually do have an investment pool at this point, finally. So we're going to hope to maybe pay off some of our debt. Laissez-faire will kind of be the saving grace here once we eventually get it. There's open hearth process, which means now we can get LKAB. Here's LKAB. Now they're really good for just making a bunch of iron. They have an iron throughput prosperity bonus. They have a prestige good on iron. They're quite good. I guess I can give them control of our steel mills too. I mean, that sounds fine. And investment rights, because why not? And we gotta pick a name for this. Let's go over to our wheel of names real quick. See what we get. Hey, look at that. Enjoy. Thank you to channel members, by the way. Thank you so much, all of you. Whether you get a company or not, I appreciate you all very much for supporting the channel. There's our election. You can throw everybody in. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be a very legitimate government. But I'm going to do this anyway, and there's drop taxes to begin passing the law. So here's a little trick for you. Okay, drop taxes, you get enough legitimacy to begin passing laws. Go in here, begin passing this. Although the industrialists are... Oh my god, we got a protectionist. Oh, cringe. Real quick, hold on, watch this. Another thing, just exile this guy, hoping not another protectionist. Okay, there we go, we got a Republican now, that's better. Put these guys all in. Now begin passing laissez-faire, and then we can convince the rural folk to not oppose it. And, you know, it means we're going to have low taxes for a bit, and that sucks, but we want to pass this law really badly, so we'll do it. Here we landed in Siak. And once again, I will build a naval fortification there as soon as we can. Let's go over here and set up our tolls. Nothing's passing through here currently, but that's okay, because, you know, trade might redirect over time. The Communist Manifesto, so we get Karl Marx. Did he actually spawn? He did. Look at that. Agitator Karl Marx. So do we want to make Karl Marx the the ruler of Sweden? I don't know about that. Unfortunately, there's nothing coming through these straits currently. That's unfortunate. Like, there's like a tiny handful of things occasionally, but it's fine. I was hoping maybe there'd be some stuff coming through, but oh well. Maybe because they can still just move through here. So once we get control of this strait, oh, apparently I can set tolls. Oh, okay. I guess I do have control of it already. Based. Well then, yeah, set the tolls and then right, because I'm the overlord of the person that rules these, so I set the tolls. It's perfect. Laissez-faire is almost here. Hopefully we get it on the next tick. These guys probably won't fire. The separatists in Africa I'd be okay with. Like, you know, if they want us to secede, that's an easy defeat. So not worried about that. But it's those civil wars for the labor movement that I'm a little bit worried about. 10 more days, maybe get laissez-faire here. This would probably fix most of our budget issues. Like, probably. I'm not sure, actually. It'll help at least. There it is, laissez-faire. Thanks to that, we can now, like, get off of this horribly illegitimate government, which is nice. I say that. We don't really have any other choice, I guess, so never mind. Maybe next election. Instead, maybe we can pass another law. I mean, we can get graduate taxation. This would be huge. This will also stop the rebellions. Who am I fighting? Oh, Abali separatists. Okay, that's fine. Thankfully, our units are literally already over here. We did just get the socialism event. I'm gonna grab the maybe wage subsidies. We wanted to do welfare, right? But it's a bit early. We don't have enough money yet. I want to wait a bit longer. So first, regulatory bodies. We'll do like more welfare a bit later. Regulatory bodies means fewer people die due to like bad work conditions, which actually is nice. I mean, it basically means more population if you think about it. Even if Bali does get away, it's not really a huge deal, to be honest. Although we lost our... Why did the skirmish infantry go away? That's a little bit weird. Oh, we had Roteland uprising. Oh, that's no big deal though. Let's see, where did our units go? Oh, we're having a civil war, right. This will clear out some radicals, so I'm kind of happy about it, actually. Must be a socialist uprising, if I had to guess. Did Karl Marx go with it? Karl Marx did go with it. It's a communist uprising. Okay, I see. Is Karl Marx in charge of it? He is. So Karl Marx has risen up in Roteland. Now we're probably just going to put him down, unfortunately, but could have been a good meme to work with him there. Although it would be kind of funny to let Karl Marx rule like a little piece of Sweden down here for the meme. But no, we will not be doing that. The nice thing is that during a lot of time, we got our new tax laws, you know, we did stuff, okay? It wasn't just like nothing was happening. Netherlands are being invaded, it looks like, but is there anything actually happening from this? They're getting regime changed, which doesn't really matter to me, so that's fine. In fact, I would like to, in this moment of weakness, perhaps reduce their autonomy, which is funny. You do also have a mandate that I forgot about, so I guess we should probably turn that on. We can get state religion, increased wages, but I don't really want that. I think instead, actually, I would like to get external trade. External Trade 3 in the current patch, because of the changes to how trade works with regards to interests, is really nice. Because with External Trade 3, you basically have full interests in the entire map, which used to be not that crazy of a thing to have, but now it's like insane. So yeah, we love that. And once I reduce Dutch autonomy, I'll have control over Luxembourg and over these dudes over here, and just in general I'll be in a pretty good place, I think. I'll also be charging taxes on the Dutch, which is even more income for me. They'll still be disloyal, but that's fine. Like, it doesn't really matter much to me. Britain's gonna be losing India probably, looking at how this is currently going. But again, revolts are weird. It's actually very unlikely that they'll win because they have to capitulate the British, who will pretty much never capitulate. So in reality, it's unlikely these guys will actually win, despite how it might look. Again, I'll posit this idea here. I think that they should have to capitulate only the subject. They shouldn't have to capitulate the whole overlord, because like it just doesn't make sense to even bother to have subject revolts like this. If I were playing Britain, obviously I'd want to solve this civil war as soon as possible because I want to have control of India back. But in terms of like my fear of actually losing India to like boots on the ground revolt, it like doesn't happen. Like it's literally not gonna happen. You see, it did break free. Okay, never mind. I was wrong. Thought they wouldn't break free, but they did. Look at that. And now they just broke into a million pieces. Okay, so we could take this opportunity to take over Karnatik, which is a nice piece of land. So I think I will. 14 infamy for this is pretty good. Let's do that, and it should be easy to conquer as well. And then we can even attack Mysore while we're here. Annex them for 24 infamy. It's a little bit expensive, won't lie. They'll only get more expensive though if we wait longer because they're going to incorporate their states. So it might just be wise to start this right away. Yeah, sure. A little infamy's okay. No one's gonna help these dudes. They're all just like, they got no friends, so it's just easy land to take right now. So this we could go ahead and turn into our big coffee plantation area, which is not a bad idea. It's good cash crops at least. Why don't we do that? Cash crops are among the best ways to get value out of your overseas colonial territories because they basically just convert cheap workers into investment pool. The thing is, the more cash crops you build, the more arable land you destroy, which will create a state with no space for peasants. Without peasants, you'll have, depending on the state's population, a ton of unemployed pops who will inevitably turn radical and rise up. Most of the time, it's easy to put those guys down, which will eradicate the radicals, but they'll keep on radicalizing due to not having any jobs. The upside of this? If you have no migration controls, then those unemployed pops can migrate back to your integrated states, which means more workers. Alongside that, discriminated pops take fewer wages, so they help keep profits up. That said, these immigrants will depress standard of living where they go, as they will increase the competition for wages. To counteract that effect, welfare is actually quite useful, as it will keep pops to a certain threshold of wealth at the cost of your government budget. Of course, if you're truly GDP maxing, then lower wages and lower standard of living aren't so bad, but you know, everyone plays the game for different priorities, right? We're having a pretty big communist victory in the elections right now. This makes sense because we have socialism, so finally the workers are willing to vote for the communists. I'm making all this coffee in India now. This coffee will contribute a lot to our investment pool. It'll also give ourselves some standard of living. There is something to be said for that as well. Coffee is consumed by our pops, of course. That said, the big thing for getting SOL is going to be jobs, and right now we don't actually have a lot of jobs. We're kind of have trouble with that right now. New company. I might just go with a coffee company because we have that coffee down in the Kovri Delta. Yeah, we might just grab that. Question is, are there any like interesting, unique ones? This is the thing: is Sweden, Norway, Denmark don't really have like interesting, unique companies. So I'm okay just to go with the basic ones. Yeah, let's just grab the coffee company. Scandinavian Plantation Fellowship. Oh yeah, we gotta name it, of course. Also, we have a wait. Did I didn't actually make it. I thought I could have sworn I just clicked to establish it. No? You don't want me to do that? It's not allowed? I don't understand. Okay, well, I guess we're not making that company. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this. I'm gonna try saving and reloading real quick. Sometimes that can fix things that are wrong with Civic 3, but pretty rarely, to be honest. Let's see, we'll try it. I would like to make the plantation company. No, I'm just not allowed. They're trolling me, dude. They're trolling me. Well, am I clicking the wrong thing? Am I actually just really stupid? What if I press C instead? Nope, just can't. Okay, well, I guess we make IKEA instead. Yeah, I guess just everything else is fine. Just can't make that one. I don't know why either. I really don't know why. It's fine. We're making IKEA, but we'll give it a name based on a channel member. Alright, Gannon Patton got this one. So we'll call this, okay, IKEA. A Gannon Patton Company. There you go. Perfect. And the leader of this company is a protectionist industrialist. Okay. We also have a Republican industrialist, Gustav Bergman, and a humanitarian, Magna Baga. Now, wage subsidies. Could just go straight to old age pension. I guess we'll do old age pension because it is the more extreme one. So, to be clear, wage subsidies can be reasonable to actually use. Like, unironically, this is like something that you could use. It would still be bad, but it's like you could use this. Old age pension will like murder your nation. And I'm debating if we want to use that or not. I think we just do wage subsidies, because that's way we don't actually kill ourselves. It could be like really, really terrible to use old age pension. We'll go with wage subsidies. Sure. Wage subsidies passing hopefully in the next 7 days. Let's see. And no, did not get it. Okay, well, never lucky. 80% chance and we failed. Love to see that. In terms of our investment pool, by the way, we do actually have a bit of a stockpile, but it's not that huge and it is trending down. So we do have, I think, enough construction. A lot of investment was coming from companies, a lot from coffee. But that 48,000 is just from the coffee. This is what I mean about plantation goods can be so powerful. This is for making money. They don't really improve your economy that much, but they just make money, and making money improves the economy. So it kind of works out eventually. It's very indirect though. This is one thing I wish Victoria 3 was better about, was explaining the power of things like just making money for the investment pool. This does allow us to build like a lot more stuff. It's kind of crazy. We do not have external trade 3. We actually had it a while ago and I completely forgot. So we had an extra mandate sitting around, which is kind of funny. We're going to also go advanced research because I like that one for faster research. But external trade 3 means that now our trade centers will get like way better. Like if we look at our trade advantage, it might just we should see it go up like immensely. Maybe it already happened. Oh, I should have looked at it before it calculated. But we're going to have trade advantage like out the wazoo now, which is great. We can go bulk trading to maybe, yeah, that'll mess things up, but it'll rebalance. But we're going to trade a lot. And the nice thing is the more that we trade, right, the more that we get tolls. So, like, we're going to cause trade to happen, which will then pay us money through the profits of the trade, but also through the tolls that we'll be charging. So it's kind of just, like, super good. Here's the next law to pass. We could do multiculturalism. This is because we have a lot of movements that want it, and we can just negotiate. So sure, let's do that. Multiculturalism is pretty good, if we can get it, so I'd like to. It's a relatively low chance, but I mean, this is reasonable. We might just get some good advances. Also, look at the Balkans, man. Look at this. Croatian Fundamentalist Revolt, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, Bulgaria, Wallachia, and then Hungary and Romania are kind of just like, I don't know what they're doing, man, but it's weird. So let's check in on how welfare works exactly by looking at an example down here in India. So if you look at like this massive population, 154,000 unemployed people, they're making right now 6,000 in welfare payments. If you look at what it says, this is that welfare is direct subsidies paid by a country to all pops in the workforce that receive wages lower than the defined fraction of the normal wage. So the defined fraction, real quick, is this one here, welfare payments 40%. So if they make 40% of the normal wage, then they get a welfare payment. Now, what's the normal wage? The normal wage is the average income, or rather the average base wage, if I remember right, of all your incorporated states. So if you look at, for example, something like here in Sweden, look at, let's say, any building, they all have the same base wage in one state. If we look here, the base wage is 6.68. If you look at, in Norrland, it might be a little bit lower, 4.98, yes. In Nordland, it should be a bit lower as well. 5.10, yeah, lower than Stockholm. Stockholm has a higher wage because it's a higher standard of living. The base wage is determined by the average standard of living needed to sustain the wealth, or rather, sorry, the average wealth needed to sustain the standard of living, it's the other way around, in that state. If you take the average across all your incorporated states, that's the normal wage. That's also what determines things like your government wages over here. Like these are kind of based on your normal wage, I think. Maybe I'm making that up. That might be old patch stuff. No, it is correct. Yes. So normal wage in Scandinavia is 4.12. So your bureaucrats make the same money no matter what state they're in because they get paid based on the normal wage in the country. So what this means is that any person who's making less than, if we check our fraction thing, less than 40% of this 4.12 wage, which I think is quick math, that's like 1.7 or something, 1.7 pounds or whatever, they'll get a welfare subsidy. So we can even try to find someone that's employed in like a terrible job out here. If we find someone with super low SOL, like are any of these guys employed? Like these coffee guys might be making some welfare. No, not quite. It'll be hard to find them because most people that are working any job are making at least like, they're making at least that much. But keep in mind, as we level this up, the welfare payment percentage gets higher. So at this, if they're making 80% of the normal wage, then they get welfare. At this, if they make 100%, which is interesting, that means that everyone will always be elevated to the average wage in your country. But here's the thing. This law also comes with a higher wage target. So you're also going to be having wages across the whole country get higher, and then you will be pushing people up to that average wage. Alongside that, when wages are higher, people get more wealth. When they get more wealth, they get more standard of living, and that will also increase their wages. So you get kind of like an infinite feedback loop of an infinitely spiraling standard of living up until bankruptcy, because eventually you can't afford to pay the welfare anymore. In theory, if you could, you would get like infinite standard of living. Now this is made even worse with the old age pension, because it has a higher welfare payment number. So this goes up to 150% when you're on maximum level on old age pension. It takes away workforce ratio, meaning that there's more competition for wages because there's fewer workers, so that's even worse. It also gives even more wage target. So old age pension is kind of like crazy if you max it out. It does just kind of bankrupt you immediately. But we'll see how it goes with wage subsidies out here. Multiculturalism, there we go, great. So now we should see a lot of immigrants coming in. I've maxed out the welfare institution at this point. Now we're paying £158,000 in welfare. This is not insurmountable. However, it's only going to get higher. So you notice how it's trending upwards? This will continue to rise as wages get higher. And wages will continue to get higher because now people are richer because of the welfare. So like this will eventually become untenable. However, it's fine because like, we have a pretty good, government balance here. We can always pause construction, etc. I do like that it's giving us more standard of living too. And the upside of it, the whole idea is that because people are wealthier, they can buy more goods. So you can, in theory, keep your consumer industries more like profitable. But generally speaking, I find that it's not really worth it. It can have its uses, but it's also good for keeping radicals down. So you see here, we've lost a lot of radicals. The thing is that usually, like, radical is not a big deal. It just depends on how you're doing, I guess. But in this case, like, we would have been fine with our current radical count. I think I might just go to old age pension right away to show you how insane it can be. Let's do it. Screw it. So this will show you how ridiculously crazy old age pension can be with regards to your SOL and with regards to your government budget just dying. Here comes old age pension. There it is. Okay. So just look at how much we're paying. £643,000 in welfare payments. Little bit crazy. Now here's what I want to do. We're going to end off this year, getting into, January of 1886. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly, and, I'm trying to not ruin everyone's games. I'm going to go and just console away the old age pension back to being wage subsidies, just so that like people don't immediately die to the insane costs of this welfare. So we're gonna do that real quick. I had to cut it from the video because I explained it really poorly with the live commentary, but the plan for this run actually is to send out the save file to various Victoria 3 players of varying skill levels to create what I'm calling a reverse disaster save. I want to see what people choose to do with this run, given it's in a pretty solid place, and more importantly because I want to see what pitfalls, or perhaps perceived pitfalls, people run into when they play. For higher skilled players, I don't imagine them running into any real problems here, but it would be interesting to see where they take the game with the remaining 50 or so years. For the newer players, it'll be interesting to see what they find challenging or what they misunderstand in the game, if anything. As for who will take on the Sweden reverse disaster save, I don't have a list of people yet, but you can expect at least a handful of folks, and once you get those saves back, I'll do a video reviewing their runs in the hopes of deriving some lessons from them. If you have anyone you want me to send a save file to, leave them in the comments, and if it feels like a good idea, I'll consider sending it over. Content creators of any skill level are welcome. Alongside the content creators, I'll also be putting the save out for anyone to play on my Discord, so if you, dear viewer, want to send a save in, join my Discord in the description below, download the save file, and send it in after you play it for as little or as much as you want. With that, let's wrap up the video. Yes. This is the French Power Block, Supreme Alliance. Oh, cool, okay. Yeah, it's a pretty normal game. We do have Super Germany. That was pretty impressive. The Germans did finishing up the clothes here. Kind of perfect timing, actually. Finish up the clothes, and then we'll pause the game, send it off, and everyone can decide what they want to build in their construction queue. It's perfect. There's July. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to make the save file now. Go with notifications, whatever. Make the save file. We'll call this the reverse Sweden, disaster save. So the idea here is, okay, I think it'll be interesting to observe how other YouTubers, whoever they are, whoever I end up sending this out to, how they choose to continue this save file, whether they're good at the game or new to the game or whatever, what they choose to do with this. Okay, looking at what they have here. What you've got is a budget that's pretty terrible and a lacking investment pool. So, you know, your economy is not amazing, but it's okay. You have a really good GDP. You have a solid alliance with the Germans. You have very good land. You know, you have like a lot of opportunity. You have a good power block. And you can probably make an even bigger army than this, and you can go make a big navy if you want. Right now, the navy is basically a transport navy. So, like, you just use it to send troops around. But you could absolutely start making your, you know, your ironclads and all that. We're researching into really good military tech. So there's that as well. Researching the dreadnoughts eventually. You know, I think that there's a lot you could do with this. I'm curious to see how the people I send it out to end up doing. Some of them might throw, some of them might do some crazy stuff. We'll have to see. But in terms of the companies, I mean, I guess I kind of pigeonholed them into these companies. But not that big of a deal. They can get more company slots. There'll be more to unlock. Their largest population by far are the Tamil and Telugu, which makes sense. They make about a third of the country. Then Swedes, then another Indian group, the Kannada, then Norwegians and Danes, and then just it's a mix of various smaller ones. But this is, of course, just more or less determined by the fact that we have, like, a bunch of people down here in India. In terms of, like, back home in like, Scandinavia, the more kind of proper homeland here, it's mostly Swedish, with a lot of just, like, Europeans kind of just mixed in there. Same with, like, Norrland. Although it's actually crazy how Swedes are only a plurality. They're not really like a majority, except in Sweden, or Stockholm proper. But up in Norrland, they're actually not a majority. Even in Norway, we've seen a lot of immigration here. A lot of people from overseas. Very cool. How about in Denmark? Denmark probably didn't get as much immigration because it's not as rich over here. Yes, they're mostly still Danish. How's Iceland looking? Yeah, they did get some immigrants. Look at that. And even over here. Oh my, wait, I didn't realize Greenland got taken over by Yoruba people. That's cool. So yeah, I guess they're just whaling. They're just whalers over here, man. And they work in the port. Okay, so they work in the port and they catch whales, and then that's it. Very nice. Beyond that, like, maybe did we get any migration down here? I doubt we got any migrants into Africa. Yeah, we got some Danes and some Norwegians down here. Okay, nothing too big though. And then we were Danifying a little bit in Carnatic. So we have nearly 500,000 Danes here. How many Danes are in the world? I'm curious. 3 million. So like this is actually like a major center of Danish culture here. There's almost a quarter. Like, well, yeah, but basically, like, well, like a fifth, like a sixth. I don't know. A significant section of people down here are of the whole Danish population lives down here in South India, which is really cool. It is also very Protestant here too, just because of our conversion speed. Very nice. Anyway, with that, I made the save file. Let's call it here. I appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you learned something from it. This was less of a tutorial compared to the previous Big 3 video, but still I hope there was something that you could pick up from this video. Maybe just like good opening moves for Scandinavia, or rather for Sweden. I think the Lubeck invasion on Star is smart, because that way you can actually get control of it before Germany takes it with the North German Federation. But yeah, anyway, actually, goodbye. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. See you later. Last thing real quick, if you're interested in buying any Paradox content, especially Victoria 3 stuff, consider using my link in the description and the pinned comment so I can get a cut. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you for your time.